Hey, Bitcamp, largest hackathon UMD. I have a team of about 4 people, including myself, and we're going to work on a 3D dynamic compiler. Sounds really weird when you think about like what the idea, but it's basically just a multi-agentic system that can create like 3D lesson plans. So think of a 3D lesson engine. If I want to learn about mitochondria, I'll create like a 3D character with a body rig, and then the 3D character will be able to create its own objects to interact with to kind of teach a student about the mitochondria for whatever reason. I think it's a cool idea because I haven't really seen anything of the sorts yet. I've seen stuff in the 3D realm. I've seen stuff about like teaching 3D in virtual reality, but in terms of this specifically, nothing of the sort. I think it's really exciting because I remember a while back at the next hackathon in February, I worked on a dynamic game compiler that was primarily in 2D. So it's gonna be really cool to take a step forward and go into the 3D space to see what I can do there and also working the whole the world 3D world model space. It'll be a cool visual to show people on what's possible with a 3D world model, right? Because this is really just gonna be like a 3D compiler, but like with a world model, you can do way more. Um, that being said, it is a big endeavor. A lot of us don't have that much experience with the 3D side of things in terms of even multi-agentic sides. Um, we're not as advanced, right? So I think it's gonna be a really exciting time to learn about a lot of stuff because like this is a big problem that no one. It's not a big this is a big idea that I don't think anyone's really solved yet. So it's gonna be like a really great way to just advance a lot of skills really fast. In terms of how I imagine on the work, I don't think it'll be too crazy. I think it's gonna be a multi-agentic system at the back. You have maybe like a lesson planner agent that creates the lesson plan, so the teacher agent can have an idea of what's going on. Then you probably have to have a body rig with like some not too calling some way to say hey agent or character move to 3D object that's over here and then pick it up and do all of that, which I think should be possible. I wonder if it's gonna be something like I really don't know how it's gonna work, but I wonder if it's like something like where not Isaac Sim, with like the robotic training, I wonder how they do that because I imagine you can kind of prompt them to do certain things. So I wonder if I could just like plug and play, and then what's really the in terms of the creation stage of the process, it's really just a matter of changing the skin of like the agent. And you can do other stuff here and there. You can also do text to speech, speech to text. The one thing I do worry about is the latency because this is something where it's meant to be like an interactive system for like a K to 12 student. So you don't really can't speak. You really don't want something that's taking 60 seconds to respond to a student because that's like someone who doesn't even have the best attention span and just like an unpleasant experience. So I really wonder if we can get the latency as to as low as possible. Um, which I don't think should be too crazy. I think really at a certain point it's just going to be a matter of the text to speech. Because with this whole thing with hackathons, what I've learned is that's not really a research endeavor where you have to meet like X and Y baseline. It's more just like you're building a product, and with a product, it's really more of a magician show where it's like, oh, you have to do certain visual tricks to make the audience think a certain thing. So not everything has to work. It doesn't have to be an agent that's able to do backflips and front flips and expand at like do XYZ, right? It can just be an agent that's able to do a couple of things. And through that capability, you have to make the user think it can do a billion things. Um, so I think with that being the case, it's not going to be too crazy difficult. Once we can figure out the fundamentals of the project, I think from there, so we're just going to be able, a matter of plugging and plugging and playing certain things. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be moving as much as I like in my head. I can imagine like it doing a couple of things, but really, when you think about it, when you think of your teacher, right? When you think of your teacher doesn't move as much as you think they do. Maybe like in terms of facial expressions, but like after they write something on the board, they more so are stiff, right? So from there, it's just a matter of making the scene seem dynamic. So maybe you could have like a dynamic you could have like a dynamic background, maybe some parallax thing where it's like moving and all that. But who knows? Who knows? That's something that's going to be decided later on. The hackathon is on April 11th. It's a 48-hour hackathon, so we do have some time. I think that's really to our benefit because we're a team that's not that. Our expertise level in the 3D space and even multi-agentic space on average isn't that high. So I think we have some time to get familiar with the fundamentals and see what we can learn. We're obviously not going to build the project, but I do imagine we can do stuff adjacent to it and miniature versions of it so we can know what we might run into during the hackathon. And even saying that, I do think, just to take a step back from hackathons, not hackathons, but this project, I do think something I've been fairly unhappy with the hackathons I've been to is that the ideas feel recycled. Like, while they're amazing executions, it does feel like the same thing over and over again. And I think what's so unfortunate about that is because I've always imagined hackathons as pushing the frontier. And I think the best way to kind of get back that way, especially with the capabilities of AI agents and tools, is really treating hackathons as the bridge from research to real world applications. Like imagine like a hackathon where you find a problem, you find a theme, and you find like a bunch of research papers of new capabilities. Could be from like a new conference like CVPR, and you take those research papers and you kind of like just vibe code some stuff or put some stuff together and you actually get like an actual application of something new. So versus like doing the same exercise AI thing or the same like document processing thing or the same AI detector video or whatever, you can actually like take new capabilities right from research papers and apply them to get something new. And I think that pushes the frontier more. And I think that's what I'm really hoping to do with this. So in the next couple of days, weeks, I'm going to be looking into some research to see what has been done, whether it's in terms of 3D model creation. I think I saw a paper a while back when I was looking into constraint-based learning for structured linear space. So I can look into those papers and see what I can do with them. In terms of even like robotics, I can look into some stuff here. 'Cause I do think from my very just my one shot answer to this problem is like, oh, you just have like a robot agent, because I imagine like with robots you have to have them in their own simulated environment, and from there I imagine you can prompt them to do certain things. I think what makes it even easier is just not the real world now it has more freedom to like be correct. uh so I imagine that's how it's gonna work. So I'm gonna look into something. I remember Disney Imagineering rather had a paper about that, so I can find what the robotic research there is and see if I can just find an agent that works really well. And then when it comes to creating the 3D character, whether it's like a bottle with a face and a hand or like a ball or whatever, it's just a matter of changing the skin, and then it's just like the same underlying agent that can do certain things like pick up stuff and move around and like flex his hands or whatever. um but yeah, I think it's a big problem. Very new, very new product, I guess, but it's also very exciting. So I'm really happy to work with it. I think the team is amazing. I think this is one of those things where I can't drop off the team because like this is something I also like invested in terms of like creating the team. I also know the people, so I think it's gonna be a really exciting time to work with them. I do really hope to do more team hackathons. I think I've done too many solo ones, so it's gonna be a good chance to do another team hackathon. Hopefully, win this time. I don't think there's a money prize. I don't think there's a cash prize. But I do think it'll be a great way to really push, um, to really encourage people to look into the 3D space of things, and especially with world models. Even though this isn't a world model, I could use it for some great visuals in terms of what a world model might be capable of. Besides that, though, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.